What the fuck? Yeah, today I wanted to make a video on the Citadel de Mor Cowabunga cranked Easter egg, but this is happening. Again. Fun fact about me, I made a video game this weekend. Now, I intentionally made it the biggest piece of shit. I was challenging myself to see if I could make a video game in like an hour, and I did it. I mean, it took more than an hour. It ended up taking a couple of hours, and it wasn't even like necessarily to make the game itself. It was troubleshooting all the ways that things can go wrong when you're making a game for Android and Unity, and more specifically when you try to finally build it, because when you go to do that, you have to download the different Java and SDKs and NDKs and make sure your Gradle and CMake things are all correct. But then, like, even if you download it officially through Unity, it'll still throw up warnings and flags, and then you need to go to third-party websites to actually download it, and then you need to look for the very specific version that Unity is asking for and make sure that it all coincides with the other versions of things that you downloaded. Make sure that it's compatible, and if for some reason it isn't compatible, you either A, need to download another version or go into your code and manually edit it, but even then you're not guaranteed for it to work. Whereas if you just try to export something with Windows or through the web or for literally any other platform ever known to man, it just works, but with Android it just doesn't. So I spent an ungodly amount of time just trying to make it work on Android so I could put it on the Google Play Store as a little joke game, because I'm trying to start a little joke franchise of games called Rad. This is Rad. This is our man. In fact, I put the game on itch.io, and I have a downloadable version as well as just like a web version, so you can either choose like, do you want to download it, do you want to play it, which through that you can technically play the game on mobile because you can just play it there in the browser. And again, don't judge too much. Again, I literally made the game itself in like about an hour from concept and conception to finishing it. But it was just the Android build thing that had me stuck, has had me stuck for the last like 2 days now. And I'm at the point where I'm done with Unity for mobile development. I'm going, like, when it comes to making stuff for like PC and the web, I'm cool with using Unity. I've always used Unity for my game development type stuff. But when it comes to developing something for Android, because this was my first time doing that, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be using the Godot or Godot engine just because it's so much more friendly when it comes to working with Android. You literally just download the Android template, and that's that. But anyway, this is the game. Are you ready? This is the downloaded version. I downloaded my own game. You tap to start, and then, I don't know if you can hear the sound effects. But this is literally it. If you're wondering what the sound effect is, I got an ASMR water droplet sound just so then the jump sound wouldn't be annoying and it would actually be really satisfying. You got the color at the bottom. The color at the bottom was just like, oh, I forget. Oh, no, that's right. It was something on Google I found, because I Googled grass green, and then I took the picture they had, because it was just like a square of like grass green. I put it into Unity and then shrutched it so it could be the floor, had to put like collision on it and all that. And then I actually made those spike assets. I'm actually pretty proud of that. I went to some like pixel creator app thing, and then I designed the pixels. Originally, I wasn't sure how I wanted the spikes to look like in terms of the color. I was dabbling with like maybe a more of a light gray at first, but then I figured the dark gray, the spikes would contrast better with the background. And to create the background, I literally went into Canva, selected sky blue, and then got myself a cloud that I like the look of, and then I started just kind of resizing them, because if you look at the clouds, they're literally all the same. I just duplicated them over and over and over again, and then just kind of put them all about. And then in terms of the coding, it was pretty simple. I just had to find like what was the right balance between Rad's jump force, his gravity, the height and width of the spikes, and what would lead to a satisfying gameplay loop, because I was not trying to create a super challenging game, because if you die... If you're wondering what that sound effect is, I literally turned my microphone on, went to Audacity, and I sat here, and I kid you not, I recorded like 50 of these just, and I picked the one that I liked the sound of the most. I had to listen to myself going, like 50 times over, just because I wanted something that sounded kind of cool, sounded kind of rad, right? Because that's the name of the game. It's Rad in all caps with an exclamation point. But it's kind of hard because some platforms won't allow you to have an exclamation point for some reason. So it's either just all capital Rad or all capital Rad with an exclamation point. Depending on the platform. Dude, that'll never not be funny to me. Every time he hits a spike, he just stops and it just goes, and again. I just sit there listening to myself go, like 50 times over and over again. Because I wanted something that sounded kind of intense, but also just kind of chill. Like, oh, man. Kind of like that old Duke Nukem, like, And outside of that, you know, it was pretty basic. Again, you know, there's not a whole lot going on here. I just had to code in some of the things, such as the score system and, you know, the generator of spikes. So then it just kind of endlessly generates generates, as well as them, like, you know, disappearing or offloading or getting deleted when they go off screens, and then kind of like repeat the cycle. And this is literally it. And if you're wondering, because every time that I die here, I'm gonna try not. Ugh. Sorry, I can't help but laugh every time I hear that. So you got the tap here to try again button, but then it says you died, try again. Who knows what happens when you reach 1,000? And I don't know if I should spoil that or not, but there is actually something at 1,000. That isn't me just being like, oh, you know, you go to 1,000, but there's not actually something there. Because at first I was gonna have it be 100, but 100 would be way too easy to hit. So if anybody can actually reach 1,000, if you're insane enough to do that, honestly, if somebody would cheese my game and, like, you know, mod it or something like that, so that every time they jump over a spike, it gives them 100 score just so they could easily reach the 1,000 score mark, I wouldn't even be butthurt about it, because it's, like, it ain't that deep, it ain't that serious, but there is a cool little something there, I will say, for anybody that reaches 1,000, and, you know, I'd hope it would be worth it. I was considering speeding the spikes up when I was developing the game, because I was like, okay, maybe, you know, maybe this is just a little too slow. Maybe it would take a little too long to hit 1,000. And realistically, yeah, it would take you a long time to hit 1,000. You go over one spike roughly every, what, 1.5 to 2 seconds. So that would be about 2,000 seconds, which would roughly be about... oh, what would that be? Like, what, maybe 30 minutes? It would probably take you about 35 minutes to reach that. So honestly, I would consider that to be the end of the game. So if you can beat my game doing this for 35 minutes at most, probably honestly less than that, 30 to 35 minutes, and if you can reach the end, and if you could even send me a video of it to where you reach the Easter egg, that would be pretty cool. Now, I will issue a warning, and oh, also I will mention that I will leave a link to both the web version as well as the downloadable version. So if you just want to play the web version, you can do that, but if you want to download it to your PC, you can do that. And also do keep in mind that there will be an Android version coming soon. I'm going to be reverse engineering the code in Godot or Godot, however you're supposed to pronounce that name. So it will be coming to Android soon enough, but you can still play the web version on Androids. You don't necessarily need to wait until then. You could also play it on iOS. I don't know if I will be publishing the game on the iOS App Store, just because I feel like they are a bit more restrictive or a bit more strict about the quality of games that can be put on their app store. And let's be honest, this is a rather low quality product. This isn't the most innovative game in the world. This is pretty terrible, if we're gonna be honest. Again, it was just kind of like a joke thing to see if I could do it. Now, I will say I did have to get a little bit of help with some of the code from ChatGPT. There was a lot of it that was still like me actually doing the coding, which I've said this before, when it comes to video game development, I don't think that AI should be a part of it. However, that's more or less when it coming to the art aspect of it. When it comes to coding, I'm a bit less, what do you want to call, anal about that? I can't think of a better word. Just because coding is more or less a language, right? It's more or less like, you know, the same thing as using Google Translate in order to speak to Japanese people, or using ChatGPT to learn how to speak Japanese, or how to, you know, how to say certain things in Japanese, right? Like, coding is more of a language rather than the actual art form itself. Again, it's not like I literally had ChatGPT create, like, every single script for me in this game. It's just that because I haven't really done video game dev stuff in a while when it comes to like coding in Unity, and with the most recent Unity version, it's like 6.00 something, that some of the terms inside of there, at least compared to when I used to do it, it wasn't registering some of the things. Like, I kept getting a bunch of errors, like, there isn't a definition for is initialized or is ready, or like certain things like that. So I don't know if there's like something in the pipeline there in Unity's engine that has just changed over the years, but it just wasn't picking up on some of the terms that I would have used when developing some of my, you know, games or demos or helping other people develop things in the past. It also doesn't help that I was just a bit rusty, because I've also been dabbling with other engines like Godot or Godot or whatever, an Unreal Engine, and just, you know, other engines in general, just to kind of spread my wings a bit, because I always messed around with Unity, but, you know, there's other engines out there, so I'd kind of just like to experiment and see what I can create, even if it's something goofy like this. I have created slightly higher quality 3D little mini games in the past, but all of those have always just ended up staying on my hard drive, and I never really did anything with them. But this is the first one that I'm actually releasing to the public. So again, if you can reach 1,000 score, send me a video of it if possible, but if not, you know, that's cool too. I'd still just like to see anybody that's actually able to reach 1,000, so there is a little special something there. And don't worry, I actually do plan to make Rad a full-on franchise. Okay, I'm just gonna spoil that right now. This is obviously just the first game in the little franchise here, but this boy Rad, I'll spoil some things. In the sequel, I do plan to make Rad customizable. He's gonna have custom hairdos. Maybe I think his sunglasses are too iconic at this point. You know, I say they're iconic as if anybody even knows who Rad is. I literally just created it. But when you think of Rad, I mean, come on. You look at him and you just know that's Rad. So I don't know if I'll do that. Maybe you could, like, customize, like, bottom parts of his face, his color, his hair, or something like that. I also want to add customizable backgrounds, maybe customizable spikes, customizable floors. And I also want Rad to go off to become, like, a franchise beyond just this, right? Because Rad is one of my words. If you've listened to me speak before, you've heard me say the word Rad, like, oh, this is pretty rad. So when I went to make the game, I was like, you know what? Rad, of all things to name this guy, it's gotta be Rad. You gotta get the shades on. It's just gotta be a Rad dude. So while this is a very basic concept, at some point, I would love to see a Rad platformer where his form of movement isn't him running around like on legs like Mario, for example. No, it's literally just him rolling and jumping. And maybe we could even tie like momentum into the physics there. So then there's like platforming puzzles that tie into his rolling and his momentum, and maybe get like a Sonic charge-up speed. So you know in Sonic, how you can run into those, I don't even know what they're called. I just think of like Minecraft pistons, where you run into them and they kind of like spring you forward, the red things. I think if we have platforms like that like go on the side and they tie to like platforming puzzles. Oh, dang it, no, I died. The hitboxes are, I'm not gonna lie, the hitboxes are a little cheese as well, so you gotta be careful. But once you get the timing down, you know it's all good. I got a high score, 64. But I'm thinking of like really cool platforming puzzles, right? Where you go into a spring and then it makes you like zoom down a ramp, but you also have to hit another spring at the bottom that's laying on the floor, so you hit that and it like launches you. But if you don't do it correctly, then you aren't gonna like, you know, make certain jumps. I'm just thinking like, you know, momentum puzzles like that, because you could really do a lot with this concept. I could turn Rad into like a 3D Subway Surfer / Temple Run type game where he's like rolling. Obviously you'd want him to be rolling vertically. You just see his glasses going the whole time. You can like, you know, jump and roll between the different things. And maybe instead of the typical running forward, since it's Rad, he could be like rolling down a hill or something like that. So it's kind of, you always have that momentum of Rad rolling, and then maybe I could try to have it in a way to where he's locked down to 3 lanes, but his momentum never stops, obviously, because if there was ways to stop his momentum, outside of obviously hitting an object, if you hit an object, you die, you know, then you'd be able to like maintain that momentum and have just like a, you know, the normal 3D runner experience. But at that point, it would be hard to know, okay, should I rather go into Blender and say animate a rolling cycle for him, or should I let physics do the work and then code it in so that his momentum never stops even if he moves? You know what I mean? So there's a lot that could be done there, but I'm just getting all sorts of ideas. And then like, you know, maybe even like 3D platformers somehow. Let's say it's like a Pac-Man world situation where somehow Rad grows legs and arms, or maybe we make like a Rad fighting game, or like a Rad racing game, Rad Kart. I'm not saying Rad is gonna be like my flagship IP or whatever, because there is other games I'd like to make, but you know, this is, it's a cool little start, man. It's a rad start, you know what I mean? So at this point, what I plan to do is reverse engineer all of my Unity C# scripts. And because in Godot or Godot, whatever, by default, it's the GD something scripts that you have to use. But if you download the mono version, then you can use C#. So I'm going to go through my code, going to reverse engineer it. Also, as mentioned before, yeah, this is my page right here, G Makes Games. You know, I'll publish other games here, and also once my game is on the Play Store, I'll also update you guys with that, but I'm going to try to make my name G Makes Games over there in the Play Store as well. But this is the web version, so it also works on your browser if you would rather play the game like this. But I do also have the downloadable version. You got the screenshots here, and then the download, and then there's a name your price thing. So, you know, if you'd like to support me and my development endeavors, that's always an option. But I'd never ask anybody or force anybody to donate or, you know, give me any money or anything like that. So that's why the game is free, but when you go to download it, you know, if you'd like to, you know, donate in any way, then I would greatly appreciate that. But we have the description here. Rad! Experience the gripping tale of this Rad dude jumping for his life. Will Rad survive, or will he succumb to the inevitable fate of death as spikes barrel towards him? Find out next time on I meant on Rad. And then I just have this bottom here that just says, jokes aside, this is my first official game after having some experience with video game development. It was a challenge to see if I can make a game from scratch to finish in one day, and well, I did it. Does the game suck? Yes. Should you play it? Yes and no. Only if you want to see what a game made in about 12 hours looks like. Oh, and there's a special Easter egg for anyone that reaches a score of 1,000. Good luck. And again, the 12 hours isn't even necessarily correct, because I created it in way less than 12 hours. It was just the Android build that literally I spent like 50 times as long on the Android build than I did on the actual game itself. Eventually, I would like to get the Rad games on Steam, just sort of free to play. But there's a $100 fee up front to publish your games on Steam, and then there's a $25 fee to publish your games on Google Play. So the $25 one is a lot easier to stomach right now. When it comes to Steam, I'm gonna wait till I have more games in the pipeline, so then I can just like pay the fee and then just drop a bunch of games. You know what I mean? Just like drop a bunch of Rad games. And again, this is just like a stupid goofy one I made in a few hours. The next ones will be high quality. This was just more or less a fun challenge to see if I could, I don't know, maybe just kind of start something here. Anybody that knows me knows, obviously, I love video games, and I've always had a thing for, like, video game development and coding and such, you know, but, because I have a fascination with all of the parts of video game development. Like, if I was to go into the video game development field, I couldn't get a job in it because I am too fascinated by every aspect of the video game development process and want too much control. I wouldn't do good in a team because I want too much control and I want to be a part of everything. I want to be there from start to finish. I want to do the coding, I want to do the scripting, I want to do the animating and asset creation. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of the code and see how everything works, what ties to what triggers this, how does this go off, how does this tie to this thing. I have a very vivid imagination. If I see characters and if I see a story and if there's something that I want to bring to life, I want to bring it to life because I know nobody can bring it to life the way that I can. And even if getting help or doing it as a team with somebody else could make the process go like 5 million times faster, I don't care because I would rather do it the way that I want it done. Obviously, that also leads to you potentially missing out on a lot of the benefits that could come from working in a team, like, say, that, you know, all the ideas that come from being in a team, because other people, you know, you kind of shoot off each other or, you know, bounce off each other, like, oh, what about this or this, or the character could do this instead, or maybe we could change the code in this way. So you do obviously miss out on a lot of that, but it's just, it's me with my mind, man. My mind's always going. It's the ADHD in me. It's just like a hamster on a wheel. It's like, wait, I want to do this and this and this and this. And even though this is a bad example of that, because this was, let's be honest, it's a terrible game. Regardless of whether or not the game is absolutely terrible, because obviously it is, this was my idea from the start. I had the idea of, hey, let's make the guy named Rad. I want him to be jumping over spikes, you know, just a generic green grass ground. You got the blue sky with the clouds in the background, and I just want people to jump. It's sort of like Flappy Bird, but a bit more chill. If you get to 1,000, you get a special Easter egg, and otherwise, that's that. That was my idea for the game, and I made it come to life, and I have a lot of ideas for other games that I want to create in the future. And again, even though, say, working as a team, or, you know, getting other people on, or, you know, going into the dev field and becoming part of a team in some way or another could technically be easier, or, you know, make things more time efficient, that's just not how I am. I'm a control freak. When I'm working on something that I'm passionate about, that I want to do it. Anyways, don't mind me, folks. I'm just gonna be trying to get to 1,000. I had to make sure to make the high score thing be a little bit farther from the edge. Now, if it gets to a point where people are actually setting high scores in this game, I don't think anybody's gonna play it that much, but to where it gets over like the 100,000 to like million mark and the high score thing starts going off screen, I might have to literally push out an update that just moves the high score thing to the left a little bit, so then people don't have to worry about their numbers getting cut off. Could you imagine that? If the one update that comes to this game is adjusting the high score position just so that people, like, honestly, I think I might have to do that before I even release the Android version. We'll see. But anyway, I've been jib-jabbing, blib-blabbing, and flapping my gums for long enough, and the Xbox app still isn't working, which is really unfortunate. I wanted to play Black Ops 6 in this video, but it's just how the cookie crumbles, I suppose. Hopefully by tomorrow we can actually do the Citadel demo or Easter egg, and hopefully everything will just be working by then. But anyway, as always, massive shout out, thank you to all the Patrons, and channel members, thank you to all the low ballers here, and any bigger shout out, thank you to the big balls, Jimmy the Last King, and Big Daddy Matty, and the biggest chat, then all the G tier, run events, some of the cheese girl, thank you guys so much, you guys are literal legends. I love you. Have an amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.